Hey, this is Doug Hammett. If you're interested in the results from the evangelism survey that I did just a little bit earlier, this video is for you. I'm going to tell you just a little bit, give you a couple of insights that were kind of surprising to me. I'm also going to tell you about something else that's getting ready to come, and if you're interested, tell you how to get in on that as well. Now, what's happened is during this year, 2017, I've just traveled the country, going from church to church and presenting our ministry and reporting to churches that have helped us over in Africa. But while here, I've had the opportunity to knock hundreds of doors and talk to hundreds of people about Christ. And in doing that, my desire is to be able to find better ways to connect with people and get a better sense of the pulse spiritually of where America is. I really am excited about some things, and I'll tell you about that at another point, but I'll tell you how to find out about that in a moment. As we look around, there's people everywhere in our world that need to know about Jesus Christ. God's people know that we need to be witnesses and talking to people about Jesus. But as we meet these people, we wonder, how do I begin a conversation? How do I get into a conversation? How do I then get the opportunity to present Christ to these people? I'm thinking especially about people that we do not know at all, strangers, if you will, that we want to speak to about Christ. Yet at the same time, many of these strangers may be friends, people that we know well, family even, co-workers that we want to speak to about Christ. We just don't want to come across it in such a way that it causes problems, yet at the same time, we want to be clear with them and tell them of what Christ has done for us. We know we have a mandate and we have a desire to reach them, and yet we struggle, I think. Many Christians do. As they talk to me, they tell me about these struggles. They struggle with how to get that conversation going in a winsome way. And I think there are some simple things we can do to get a gospel conversation started. I've tested these out. I've been able to work with them, especially this year, and I want to be able to share those with you down the road. But in doing that, I wanted to kind of get a feel for where people are at who are trying to witness like you. And so one of the questions that we asked on our survey was about the quality of prospects. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you describe your opportunities to speak with people about the gospel? Is it just completely dried up, number one, which you notice nobody even answered that. Nobody said, nobody talks to me. Nobody will talk. There's nowhere to even go to talk to anybody. Everybody knows that there's a drip. Once in a while, they get to talk to someone. Now that drips over here. It's this group here. There's a number of people that are in this particular category. But the big categories, and these are the two, and it kind of surprised me, there's those that are in the dribble, and the water just kind of dribbles. The opportunities, prospects, the leads to talk to people just kind of dribble along and not as fast as what we want. Others, it's dependable. Boy, I can talk to people. I have people all the time that I get to talk to, but I don't know exactly how to get that conversation going. That becomes the key to all of this. And those with a deluge, just a few people are over in that particular category, as you can see here. And so that was interesting to me. I didn't expect it to be up at the dependable level. I really expected people to say, no, we just don't get enough. As I've talked to pastors across America, they've pretty much said things are at a dribble level, and some even at a drip. They're really struggling to get enough people to talk with, not themselves personally necessarily, but for their church congregation to be able to reach out to. The second question, and there are only two questions in this, the second question that I asked was real simple, and it was this: what one thing would help you the most to better engage in gospel conversations? And so I asked that question, and you can see here that this group here, 7.7, said, well, just starting a conversation with somebody that I don't know is a problem. And there's some ways to do that. In fact, if you do this well, the rest of it can flow very easily. But I find people sometimes struggle there. But here's the big one. This is how to open that conversation, how to introduce a spiritual angle to the conversation. And really, I think people freeze up at this point. How do I say something so it doesn't come across offensive? It opens up a dialogue. We get to talk with each other. And the second, or the third level one here, which is this 15.4, is the dialogue. Once I introduce the subject of a spiritual conversation, how do I get people then to start talking with me? So we're actually in a conversation, not just a one-sided, I'm talking at them, they're trying to slam the door in my face, and I've got my foot in the door, won't let them go. But they're actually talking to me. And then this one here, 15.4% of the people, how do I get people to open up? How do I get them to be really honest with me? And I think those three levels right there, really, they are very much related. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment. In fact, opening up the spiritual conversation, all of this kind of flows together. And if you open it properly, if you begin talking to people right, and you open it in a right way, it will turn into a dialogue. And if you turn it into the right kind of a dialogue, there's a way to actually get people to open up to you. And then, ultimately, responding. And 11.5% of the people said that they want to know what things they should say as they're talking with these people. And then very smaller numbers, if you will, here. What do I do if I get tough questions? And I think a lot of times people freeze up even talking because they're looking down the line afraid of the tough questions. But a small group there, and they're saying, I don't know what I'll say if they ask me something that's really hard. And then one person did say, if there was anything else, and they said, yeah, I'd really like to know more about how to better pray for those that are lost. And so we're going to come back here to this one right here, and for just a second, how to open up that spiritual conversation, because I think this really becomes the key. And I'm going to talk to you about this particular area, how to open this conversation in such a way in the next video, if you're interested in that. But I do believe what I've found in knocking doors across America is that there are people who are interested in spiritual things. Our country is full of people, and as I've approached people at the door, I have found, by and large, from millennials on up to older folks, from hardened, staid, stoic religionists to people who are atheists and agnostics, people are still spiritual in their thinking. Now, when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about biblically spiritual, but I'm talking about spiritual issues, eternal issues. They are pondering the big questions. They want answers. Yet they are very loudly saying, I am not into religion. And this is a large population now, very different than what we used to have back in the 70s when I started knocking doors and talking to people just cold turkey at the door. And so things have changed. A lot of people lament that. I do. Yeah, I'll be honest. Wish we could go back. But the fact is that we have some great opportunities with that to be able to talk to people about Christ if we'll approach it in the right way, I believe. And so what I'm going to recommend to you is that there's people everywhere that need to hear about Christ. Some in your life that are watching you, looking at you, and wanting to know, will you help them? But they don't know how to introduce the conversation. They don't know how to get all this started, and they want to talk to you. And so I'm going to give you one great tip in the next video that I put out. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, then I'd ask you to just go to that website address, masterministry.com/simple, S-I-M-P-L-E, simple gospel conversations. I'll send you out that video, send you a link for that with your email, and you'll be able to check it out. And I'll also tell you about what I'm getting ready to launch here pretty quickly, and if it's something that fits for you, great. If not, that's fine as well. But would ask you to sign up for this if you have an interest in knowing more about evangelism issues. Then get on this list, and we'll see what the Lord has for us. And I'll probably be releasing that video tomorrow. That's my plan. So hop on that list right away. God bless you.